So a monopolist has the potential to continually earn excess or economic profits in the long run. Again, remember that's not true in a perfectly competitive market structure. The competition actually forces the firms to squeeze down their profits to a point where economic profits are zero. Now, let me make sure you understand because I maybe did not make this clear earlier. If a firm's earning zero economic profits, that doesn't mean they're having zero accounting profits. Economic profits not only include those explicit costs and when we're looking at total costs, but also implicit costs. And by implicit, I mean generally opportunity costs. So when a firm is earning zero economic profits, they're at least earning the equivalent of their opportunity cost. So that would be a positive amount of accounting profit. So a firm in the PC can continue to operate even though there's zero economic profits. Again, though, in a monopoly, uh, that's true also, but a monopolist has the potential of earning even higher economic profits. In other words, above their implicit excess, their implicit explicit cost. So that's a big difference in the monopolist as opposed to a perfectly competitive. So, what would be the point where the monopolist is just breaking even? Now, that is a possibility. So, let's backtrack. A monopolist has the potential to earn an economic profit forever in the long run, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will. It depends on the size of their market. Maybe it's a monopolist, but maybe it's a small market. And or their cost structure. Maybe they have high cost, even though they're the only player in town, so to speak. And so in the example here, it looks like that at 560 is marginal revenue, marginal cost. It's around 560. Okay. And so that's the point where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, determining that profit maximizing point. Now, notice though that at that point, price is well below, as I've already mentioned, the marginal cost value. This implies that a monopolist is not allocatively efficient. In other words, they're charging a much higher price for that last product they bring and sell at the market than what consumers value that product at. So the product is not allocatively efficient in terms of what happens in that market. It also means that, and I've just mentioned that, so let me give a short break so that you can read this if you so desire. I've already mentioned it. Now, also notice that the monopolist is not operating efficiently. Efficiency is where MC equals ATC. That's certainly not the case. We're operating on the average total cost curve up here. So notice the per unit costs are higher than what would be the efficient level. So monopolists are neither efficient in allocation or production. Make sure you understand that. Now, let's do some comparison between a perfectly competitive market and a monopolist. Now, what I've done is kind of modify this graph so that we can show the comparisons. And what we're going to do is assume that the PC, the perfectly competitive representative firm, and the monopolist face the same market demand and same cost curves. Again, that's a little bit of a stretch, but that's the way we can compare the two. So we've already saw that in a monopoly situation, marginal revenue equals marginal cost occurs here, and that determines the price and quantity. Now, this is a different example, remember. So the numbers are a little different. But marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Remember, in a PC, marginal revenue is constant. It is the same thing as the price. And in the long run, that's going to be equal to marginal cost, zero economic profits. That would occur where MC equals D, because D would be MR in a PC. And so notice the competitive firm would sell more product at a cheaper price. So here's what is happening. The monopolist is restricting output, what they produce and sell. Why do they do that? Because they want to get that higher price off the demand curve. So they are trying to capture some of the consumer surplus. And I've already mentioned in previous videos that this is a dead weight loss to society. And if you recall that, basically in a modified form, this would be the dead weight loss to society. Now, a monopolist actually can be efficient in terms of allocation in one strange instance, and that's where the firm is able to perfectly segment the market. In other words, instead of charging the same price for every customer so that the the marginal revenue curve is below, what if we can break up the market so that the first customer that values this product at, let's say, $22, that's what we sell that, or in this case, maybe roughly about 9 customers, or one customer buys 9 of them. Again, it's probably easier to think about one-on-one, and so on and so forth. So when a monopoly is able to perfectly price discriminate, actually they are being efficient because price will equal marginal cost. This is kind of a strange situation, but that is the case. And used to, you didn't see that ability to segment markets. There would be some segmentation of markets. For example, if you go into some fast food restaurants, if you are older like me, I actually they segment the market and they give me a cheaper price, the senior discount price for coffee, for example. So they are trying to price their products based on the demand of that particular segment of the population. Nowadays, with computers, with AI, Amazon, a lot of other companies, they're getting close to being able to perfectly segment the market. So that's why when you go on an Amazon site, for example, especially if it's on a computer that you've been on before, your phone, the price you see may be not exactly the same price as what another person sees. And so what they're attempting to do is segment the market. Is Amazon a pure monopolist? Well, no, there are some competitors out there, but it is so much larger than any of it that it has a lot of the monopoly characteristics, even though it's not a total monopoly. So that brings up the last point. Again, perfectly competitive firms, you really in the real world don't see many, but that's kind of a benchmark for comparing the real world firms against. Not too many just true, pure monopolists. There are a few, but not too many. But then we can compare the real world and say, okay, where along the spectrum does this firm fall? And then what are going to be a lot of their characteristics? So think of that analysis as the way to think about these market structures we've studied so far.